The Pacific, the largest and deepest expanse of our planet's ocean. Stretching 60 million square miles in size, it's home to some of the weirdest and most delightful creatures on Earth. Some of the most captivating glimpses of these hidden habitats come from remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, that allow us to explore the depths of the ocean. I recently joined a deep-sea expedition aboard MBARI's research vessel Western Flyer. The expedition was led by Dr. Kakani Katija, who leads an amazing group at MBARI called the Bioinspiration Lab that develops deep-sea exploration technologies and bio-inspired designs.
I lead the Bioinspiration Lab, which is comprised of a number of researchers and engineers that are all interested in developing technology that enables us to observe and study animals in their natural environment in the deep sea.
All right, so it's the morning of the deep sea expedition. I'm really excited to be going, but also a bit frantic. I've been packing all night to get ready. I found out less than 48 hours ago that I'm going to go on this deep sea expedition. So behind me, you can see some of my packing. My orange bag has all my lab supplies. This yellow bag has got my personal gear, a bunch of filming equipment in my backpack, and then a microscope. Very important to bring that. So I'm going to be figuring this out as I go along, but it's going to be a week at sea, and I'm really excited, a little bit nervous, but let's go.
All right, so I'm on the ship. I'm on the RV Western Flyer now. We are just getting ready to depart from Moss Landing here at Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute. Really looking forward to getting out into the sea and just doing as much awesome, cool science as we can.
I've had a bit of a rough night because I felt like I was going to throw up last night. Thankfully, I didn't. Regardless, the reason why it's worth risking throwing up and doing expeditions like these is because exactly what's behind me. That's actually a live view of what the underwater ROV is seeing. And I'm actually about to go walk into mission control. So let's go check it out. Inside Mission Control, I operated the main science camera, focusing in on amazing deep-sea creatures and underwater phenomena. The mission of this expedition was to test out different imaging technologies developed by the Bioinspiration Lab that are able to study delicate sea creatures in their natural habitat in unprecedented detail. The tech on board the ROV included cameras that create 3D reconstructions of creatures and their movements through laser scanning and a multi-lens system that acts similar to the complex eyes of insects. There were also cameras that enabled the ROV to be piloted autonomously, using machine learning to track underwater creatures, and cameras that allowed us to see what the ROV was seeing in real-time 3D through a VR headset. One of the cool things about this cruise in particular is that we're not only studying all these amazing deep sea creatures with all of our cool technologies and cameras and everything, but we're also collecting a select few of them to actually go on to live at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And it's really cool to be part of that process of actually finding and selecting these cool creatures to show off to everyone else. No! Oh, this game is rigged.
I'm sorry.
You do it. Get in there. Oh, yeah.
Still crazy.
Woo!
Moving around.
Every night it's just so magical. We're pulling in all these amazing deep sea creatures into the wet lab and studying them, and then we're all gathering around different jars that we've collected and oohing and awing over all of the cool creatures that live in the deep sea. It's just absolutely amazing.
Wanting to get an even closer look, I set up my microscope and began searching for tiny creatures from the seafloor.
We're around 40 kilometers off the coast of California, studying the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. And why this is such a cool place to study is because it's one of the places that has a really big underwater canyon. This means that we can see deep sea creatures without having to go far off into the Pacific Ocean. Here's one of the things that feels like a definite charmed sort of life. I'm, in my dorm room right now, getting ready, putting on makeup, doing my hair, blah, 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 getting ready for the day. And behind me is a laser that's being used to scan deep sea creatures. And that laser is called Deep PIV, and it's used to scan all of these deep sea creatures and create 3D models of them. So I'm just, hanging out in my dorm room, getting ready and watching deep sea creatures get scanned with a laser under the ocean. Just another day aboard the ship.
Another few days of diving with the ROV revealed more amazing wonders from the deep.
This is Maria. It's starting to dry. So you can kind of see this grid-like structure. So it actually takes silica from the seawater and then it deposits it into spicules, and those spicules fuse together to make this really pretty framework. So the whole sponge is basically tubes, a bunch of tubes made of that woven glass structure.
It's a little bit bigger, yeah. Amazing. Okay, here we go. Fill it in.
The bright white is sperm, and then the milky stuff in the front, those are actually eggs that are all packed really tightly together, I think.
Amidst living in this wonderland of science and exploration, we also found time to have some geeky fun as a team.
If I was a great white, I wouldn't bite you, but I'd swim right next to you. If I was a great white, I wouldn't bite you, but I'd swim right next to you, 'cause sharks like surfing too.
So it's the last day of our expedition. We've been out at sea for a week and it's wrapping up. And I don't know, I've had a really fantastic time. I've had my mind blown by deep sea creatures, and I've had my mind blown by the amazing people here on board that hail from so many different disciplines. Something that I think is really important to note is that, you know, for a long time I've been a space geek. I wasn't that way growing up, but I became one when I got a chance to work at NASA. And I was always fascinated by space once I got that opportunity. But something that's important that sort of happened in my evolution of being a space geek is that the longer you become a space geek, the more likely you're going to become an Earth geek. Because the more you explore out into the universe, the more you realize just how weird and whimsical and amazing Earth is. Earth no longer comes across as this everyday thing, but something that is amazing and has so many interesting forms of life on it and is really intricate and just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. So I'm a space geek for sure, but as time goes on, I become more and more of an Earth geek. Getting to explore out here in the ocean is kind of like getting to go into space, in my opinion, but you get to actually find alien life forms in the form of Earth creatures that are totally weird and amazing. So it's really fantastic to explore Earth just as much as space.
Thanks so much for joining me on my expedition to the deep sea. You can support my ongoing work as an independent explorer and video creator by joining my Patreon. Thanks to all my patrons, and a special shout out to the ones listed in the YouTube description below. You all rock. Thank you to Dr. Kakani Katija, MBARI, the entire Bioinspiration Lab team, as well as the crew of the RV Western Flyer, the ROV pilots, and my science team shipmates on this expedition.